In this section, we're going to talk about slope and also about slope as a rate of change. So here's some things for your notes. The slope m of the line passing through the points x1, y1 and x2, y2 is m equals, you're going to subtract the y values, so y2 minus y1 over, and then subtract the x values, x2 minus x1. And this formula is called the slope formula, so you want to have it handy in your notes. y1 and x1, y1 are the coordinates of one point on your line, and x2, y2 are the coordinates of a second point. So these are 2 points that are on your line, and you can use any 2 points on your line in the slope formula to find the slope of your line. So we'll have some examples below. The rise, which is also known as the change in y, is y2 minus y1. So we call that the rise, the numerator of the slope formula. And then the run is the change in x, and that's x2 minus x1, and that's the denominator of the slope formula. If a line has a positive slope, then the line rises from left to right. So this is good to know, so you can use it to check your answers. Your line rises from left to right, your slope is positive. And if a line has a negative slope, then the line falls from left to right. Okay, let's do some problems. It says here, if possible, find the slope of a line. Oh, hang on. If the slope of a line is 0, then the line is horizontal. And we talked about horizontal lines in the last section. Those are the lines that have equation y equals a number, remember? Now, if the slope of a line is undefined, and we also say that that means that there is no slope, then you're talking about a vertical line. And those are the lines that are x equals a number. Okay, now we're going to find the slope of lines. We're given a graph in this first couple of problems. We have the graph and we need to find the slope of the line. Now notice that our line does fall from left to right, so we know then that our slope is negative, and that's good to use for our check. Our answer needs to turn out to be negative slope. And we're going to use the slope formula, so let's pick 2 points that are on the line. Remember, you can pick any 2 points. I like to pick points that are easy to read. So this one here, 0, 5, which is the y-intercept, that's a good point to use because there's no fractions. And now let's pick another point. Let's see, this one right here looks like there's no fractions. This one is the point 1, 3. So 1, 3 is another point. Now you could have used any 2 points on this line, but when possible, pick nice points with integer coordinates. Alright, there's my x1, y1, x2, y2, and these also can be, you could have switched those two. You'll get the same answer. So we're going to subtract the y values and then subtract the x values. And 3 minus 5 is negative 2 over 1, which is negative 2. So our slope for this line is negative 2, and so it is a negative slope. And we can check this by actually counting the rise and the run in the graph, and we'll do that in the next example. So here's the next example. This time our line rises from left to right, so we know we have a positive slope. We're going to pick 2 points, 2 nice points, so I'm going to pick 0, 1, and this point here, which is 6, 3. Those are going to be my 2 points. Remember, you can pick any 2 points on your line, but pick some nice ones just to make things easier on yourself. And now I like to label these so that we keep it straight, and then substitute right into the slope formula, which by now you should be starting to memorize, right? So we're going to subtract the y values, 3 minus 1, over, and then we subtract the x values. In the numerator have 2 and the denominator is 6, and 2, 6 reduces to 1/3. And so let's check that, because that tells me that the rise is 1 and the run is positive 3. And so notice that when I go up 1 and over 3, I do hit my line. So 1 is the rise and 3 is the run. And you can see that our graph verifies that we've done the calculations correctly for this slope. The slope is 1/3. Okay, we're going to calculate the slope of the line passing through these pair points. We have -4, 0 and 2, 1. And I'm just reminding myself of which point is which. And then we subtract the y's. We subtract the x's. Notice that we'll have to subtract the -4, so I'm going to have two negatives. That makes a plus, so 2 plus 4 is 6. So 1/6 is my slope for the first pair. The second pair of points have fractions, but don't worry, I'm going to show you how to do some of these fractions on your graphing calculator. Substitute into the slope formula just like you would with the integers that you did above. And so we're just going to substitute it in. Of course, the numerator we know is -1/2, because -1/2 minus 0 is just -1/2. And then now let's do this denominator. So use the graphing calculator. I'm going to type in 1/2 plus 1 divided by 4, which gives me my fraction 1/4. And then because I want my answers as a fraction, I go to the math menu and hit enter. See how it puts the word fraction? Math menu, fraction. And then you get your answer as a fraction, which is 3/4. So now let's do the division. Now for the division, you're going to need to use the parentheses or you will get a very weird answer. So put the -1/2 in parentheses, divided by the 3/4 in parentheses, hit enter. Notice we got a decimal, and that's because we didn't go to the math menu. So let's do math menu, fractions, and now -2/3 is your answer. So you've got your rise and your run. And for those of you that prefer to flip and multiply, which is it is faster, notice that you get the same answer. Okay, sketch a line passing through the given point and having slope m. And so we're given a point, -3, 3. We're going to use that as our starting point. And then we're also given the slope, which is -1/3. So the first thing you want to do is graph your starting point, your -3, 3. So you graph that. From there, you're going to use your slope to get more points. Now this -1/3, I'm going to rewrite that as -1 over +3. And remember that the numerator is the rise and the denominator is the run. So -1 says go down 1 and +3 says go right 3. So you start from your starting point. You're going to go down 1 and count 1, 2, 3. And there's your first point. Put a little point there. Let's do it again. Down 1 and to the right 3, and there's another point. Notice how they nicely line up. And now you want to just connect the dots and graph your line through your points. Okay, that's close. All right. Notice too that we expected the line to fall because it was a negative slope, and it sure does fall. Okay, now we're going to look at slope as a rate of change. So it says here, when a company manufactures 1,000 game consoles, its profit is $20,000. And when it manufactures 1,500 game consoles, its profit is $35,000. Find the slope of the line passing through the points. And you can see that we're using the x-coordinates to be the consoles, and the y-coordinates are the profit. So we're going to substitute right into our slope formula and do our subtraction. And over here in the numerator we get 15,000. In the denominator we get 500. Let's do some reducing here. We reduce those zeros, and so then we have 5 divided into 150 is 30. And what have we found really? The slope is 30, but we found $30 per console. Now, how did I know it was $30? Well, remember that the y values are the dollars, they're the profit, and the x values are the consoles, and we put the y values over the x values. So if we interpret that slope as a rate of change, what does that tell us? Well, the slope tells us that for every extra console that the company manufactures, the profit is going to go up by $30. And that's what the slope means as a rate of change in this particular problem.